MP for the DP says the purpose of the law is to understand the damage that plastic causes to the environment. Coordinator for Victim Issues at KPSM, Patricia Richardson, speaks of her role with domestic violence issues. And opposition in Curacao is critical about agreement with the Netherlands. Those are the headlines for Wednesday, November the 4th, 2020. Good evening, viewers. This is SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. And as usual, we have a full newscast for you, so let's get started. In our first story, which comes out of the island of Curacao, opposition parties in Curacao has criticized the agreement that the Netherlands and Curacao signed on Monday on a third corona support package for the island. The country will receive a loan of 50 million euros in corona support, and in addition, for more than 75 million euros in gifts for education, strengthening the rule of order, and a better investment climate. According to MFK leader Hilmar Pisas, Curacao does not get much money when you see how much autonomy they must give up. Leader of Curaçao's Dinostur Amparo dos Santos calls the agreement an election stunt for the coalition. According to Dos Santos, the Dutch Undersecretary Raymond Knops is helping the MAN and the PAR parties to make a good impression for the upcoming elections. But according to Dos Santos, Knops would do better to give the money directly to the population instead of the crooks that now make up the government. According to Pisas, the current agreement does not differ much from the original proposal that the Netherlands presented 4 months ago when the Rugenath cabinet then refused. Pisas is also surprised that no agreement has been reached on aid of 170 million guilders for the Hero Bank because the Minister of Finance, Kenneth Gijsberta, had always announced this. Now, back on St. Martin, at the Council of Ministers' weekly press briefing earlier today, Prime Minister the Honorable Sylvia Jacobs updated the media on her meeting with the CFT regarding the conditions that was set. According to the Prime Minister, the meeting was quite fruitful and productive. The Prime Minister also updated the press on the cost-cutting measures for civil servants. Ms. Jacobs said that we are still in the process of finalizing what the CCSU had requested, and she expounded further.
In the recent meetings held with the CFT regarding the conditions that were set for the second tranche of COVID-19 liquidity support, I must say that sitting together with our Minister of Finance and the CFT and our support staff, that the meeting was quite fruitful and productive. I believe that we are coming close, very, very close to an agreement that parties can live with. In the meanwhile, we are constantly trying to engage in discussions for the third tranche of liquidity support with the Netherlands. A letter to that effect went out last Friday to the State Secretary to update him on the progress made thus far regarding the conditions for the second tranche and encouraging him to start the negotiations with St. Martin for the third tranche. We're looking forward to his response, and in the meantime, government is finalizing the package of structural reforms that is to be presented for the discussions, hopefully before the upcoming Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting, which is scheduled for November 13th. Although we've gotten quite far with the CFT, there still remains 1 or 2 points up for discussion, which they have brought to our attention and which our Minister of Finance had to submit let's say, counter proposal for. We hope that the letter sent with the updates will encourage the State Secretary to continue to move forward with the discussions, as was the case with Curacao, who was allowed to engage in discussions on the third tranche without having met all the conditions for the second one. Yesterday, this government, by way of the Minister of Finance, sent alternative solutions for the points that remain in discussion with the CFT, and we await an answer or an advice on this last proposal. In a manner of updating our civil service, as you know, government has been engaging in cost-cutting measures that directly affect our service, that we would like to keep our service at a high level to the general public. but also affects our civil servants. We are still in the process of finalizing what the CCSU membership had requested in terms of formalizing the secretariat of the CCSU, which they felt was necessary before we would proceed with any further meetings. So as a result of that, and feeling the need to inform our employees, the civil servants of St. Martin, the government of St. Martin has arranged a couple of meetings, one this afternoon with the SGs and department heads, and on Friday with the general population of the civil service to update them on the progress of our negotiations that have a direct impact on them. Of course, we will continue also to get that same information to the unions, the membership of the CCSU, which will, of course, hopefully be sitting at the table with us soon.
Meanwhile, Aruba's Prime Minister, Evelyn Waver Cruz, on Monday informed the Aruba Parliament that government had accepted the Dutch conditions for the third liquidity support tranche. I can announce with great satisfaction that we are ready for an agreement with the Netherlands. On the day that Curaçao signed a historic political agreement with the Netherlands in Willemstad, Waver Cruz sent a letter to the Aruba Parliament to announce the acceptance of the conditions for COVID-19 financial support. That same day, Waver Cruz gave an update during a meeting of Parliament. The negotiations have gone well, and we have arrived at 4 important adaptations which safeguard our country's autonomy and which state that the Caribbean Reform Entity, the CRE, has to consult with us in whatever it does, said Waver Cruz. We consider this a big accomplishment, and as government, we are of the opinion that we must accept the conditions so we can receive financing from the Netherlands at 0% interest. This is needed so we can continue rebuilding our country. And as we continue now in other news, speaking at the jointly convened press conference with various unions on the island yesterday, November the 3rd, 2020, regarding the letter sent to several government employees who are on sick leave and in which they were informed that they will have to be re-examined, President of the ABVO Union, Charlon Catalina, and Rogerel Mauricia of the NAPB Union gave their input on the government's letter to the civil servants. According to the ABVO president, Mr. Catalina, he feels that the third party that the government wants to bring in, they don't know what system and legal base this company is coming in with. Meanwhile, President of the NAPB, Mr. Mauricia, wanted to reiterate that the letter has not yet been shared with the police force. However, while he is not against the letter, there are certain rules and regulations that have to be followed by the government.
First of all, the government is bringing a company that the third party that we don't know, like my sister said already, we don't know what the system, what legal base this company is coming in. We do have a Chamber of Commerce that all companies have to register before they start running and doing the business on our country. Furthermore, we want to ask the government if this company is a legal company and what's the legality that this company is coming in to surpass our legal company that's SHV and what is written in the LMA. We don't have no problem if the government, because what they're doing, they have the right to do it, but according to the national laws. For me, as my sister said already, this issue is a way of disrespectful to the unions because we as stakeholders, we get to know from our members that they receive a letter and the government never approached the union concerning this, which touching the rights of our unions. So based on this, I sympathize with my colleagues and I say that the government have to come better with this and please stop disrespecting the unions and do as it is in the constitutional law that we have to respect the union all the time because we're here to represent our members in any way that's possible.
I also want to acknowledge reading that letter that was circulating, but still want to reiterate that in the police force, by our members in the police force immigration, that this letter is not as yet has been shared But knowing how this government work wouldn't take long to reach. But again, I just want to know that we are not against this thing, but there are some rules and regulations that I believe the government have to follow. Number one, you do have already a controller doctor here, which is the SLB. Number two, based on what Sister Romley has already said, based on AB 2010 GT2, you have to acknowledge that also that sick leave policy, and for you to bring an entity whereby you claim that, and we know there is no money to for yourself to pay your civil servant and the country St. Martin, you can form a committee which from the patient doctor together with 2 extra from SVB, and that committee, I mean, that's giving just idea to the government in order to examine the person that is on long-term sick leave. We are also do not condone wrongdoing, but we're here in order to assist the government, and that is the problem we have now, that the government is not showing willingness to sit with the unions in order for us to have things that regarding the members that we believe it is wrong, we can prove them it is wrong, it's not going according procedure to make them right in order to move forward. So by this means, I also would like to let the government know by means of the Minister of AZ that the unions are willing to assist in order to bring clarity, in order to bring her idea to light, but according to procedure and rules.
And still to come, Minister of Justice says she is going to ensure that government can make the ban on plastic bags manageable. We'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie Van Putten. As we continue now with more news, the House of Parliament sat in a public meeting on Tuesday, November the 3rd, 2020. The meeting was a continuation of the discussion regarding the Initiative National Ordinance amending the General Policy Law of 2013 in connection with the introduction of the ban on the use of plastic bags. The public meeting was adjourned on October the 9th, 2020. In her presentation, MP for the UDP, Mrs. Westcott Williams, said that the purpose and objective of this law is definitely not to seek to collect any revenue, definitely not to impose imprisonment, but to encourage all to understand the damage that plastic causes to the environment and to our livelihood.
So, Mr. Chairman, the single-use plastic bag ban proposal started with exactly that, a ban on the use of single-use plastic bags. During the handling of this proposal, this initiative draft law, the plastic straws were added to the ban. And so a first amendment came about that then added the ban on styrofoam. So that was the first amendment. During discussions in Parliament and hearing from several members of Parliament regarding the low penalty currently in the law, the General Police Ordinance, for any offenses regarding this law as it exists right now. The current penalty for any offense is actually 100 guilders or 14 days imprisonment. Based on those discussions in Parliament, I proposed a second amendment that then increased the offense of the use of single-use plastic bags to 1,000 guilders, and in second instance, a penalty of 1,000 guilders, and in second instance, 6 months rather than the 14 days imprisonment. Mr. Chairman, as throughout these discussions, I have been highlighting that the purpose and objective of this law is not so much, definitely not to seek to collect any revenue from the fines, definitely not to go after imprisonment, but rather to encourage all to understand the damage that plastic causes to the environment and to our livelihood. So throughout the discussions as well, the issue of awareness and education constantly were highlighted by several MPs as well as myself. We had a discussion, the last discussion of the public meeting on this draft initiative, in which the Minister of Justice and her support staff were present. The issue of the monitoring as well as the maintenance of this particular ban came up for discussion. And several members of Parliament wondered whether it would not be an idea to have the enforcement and the maintenance of this law, to have that put specifically in the law, that it could be given to the enforcement, namely to other than the police force. So when we actually stopped off in the last meeting, the agreement was that the initiative taker, myself, as well as the legal advisor of the Ministry of Justice, would have discussed this part that came up by several members of Parliament, which we did. On October the 15th, I met with Mr. Yusia, the legal advisor to the Ministry of Justice, as well as our acting Secretary General, Mr. Richardson, to discuss this matter.
And in response to the draft on the banning of plastics, Minister of Justice, the Honorable Anna Richardson, also spoke of the banning of the plastic bags. She commended MP Westcott Williams for a job well done. The minister says that she is going to ensure that government can make it manageable. Then, Chairman of Parliament, the Honorable Rolando Bryson, put it to the vote to Parliament, and it was unanimously accepted.
In response to the draft, I would say that MP Westcott Williams did a very great job in elucidating and giving updates as to the steps and measures that were taken to be able to, what I hope is suffice any concerns that we might have had on both sides. That said, the government has no objections to the proposal as it has been presented with the amendments, and I do believe, we can make it manageable. Considering what has been outlined and the way that we see it can be executed in a manageable manner.
The draft in its entirety, as amended by Memorandum of Modifications 1 and 3. Does any member request voting by roll call or hoofdelijke stemming? I hear no need for hoofdelijke stemming. Therefore, with that, the draft is accepted unanimously by Parliament. According to Article 88, subsection 1 of the Constitution of St. Martin, Parliament shall notify the government that Parliament has approved this draft law in its public meeting. The governor will then send this draft to the government for their advice on the ratification of the draft. The government will also look at the financial issues related to this draft. This draft will then be discussed in the Council of Ministers, and if not approved by the minister, the chairperson of Parliament will be notified. If approved, then the governor will be notified and the signing will take place.
Now, turning to our weather forecast for November the 4th, 2020. The Atlantic high pressure ridge is a dominant feature across the region, supporting a dry air and dusty atmosphere. Nevertheless, particularly during the overnight to early morning hours, a few local showers are possible. Moderate marine conditions can be expected for the next few days. Small craft operators and sea bathers should continue exercising caution. So the outlook through Friday midday, partly cloudy, breezy and hazy with local showers. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Coordinator for Victim Issues at the KPSM, Patricia Richardson, speaks of her role with domestic violence issues. And we'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
The innovative Banco Matico contactless smart card. Your Banco Matico smart card is now equipped with a contactless feature for payments, so get ready to tap and go. Contactless payments are fast, easy, secure, and accepted worldwide at all Maestro-enabled contactless terminals. Tap for transactions equivalent to or less than 100 NAF, or the US dollar equivalent. You will receive notifications via email anytime you tap. Tap, tap, and pay fast. Fast with WIB. For more information, visit our website at wib-bank.net. Tap and go with your partner in progress.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News. And as we continue this evening with our series on domestic violence awareness, Ms. Patricia Richardson, who is the coordinator of victim issues with KPSM, told our news department recently about her involvement and what the police department is doing to assist victims of domestic violence.
In 2017, I started with the domestic violence. I became also team leader of that department. So on a daily basis, I'm busy with it. What we have noticed in the period of time from 2017 to 2020 that we were lacking a little bit of experience on that side. There was things that going on that was not so rapidly going on like how it was then. So we started connecting with the outsiders, like with Safe Haven, and putting it on a level so it's something that could be recognized right away. It was kind of still because of certain situation, but now it just like bloom, and then we like, hey, this is something that we need to touch bases on right away. So we started involved in different outside partners, like the prosecutor office, the court of guardianship, the Safe Haven, for us to get on one level. I must say that there's improvement from 2017 to now. There are some work agreements, protocols we call them, that establish that this has to be done for us to get to the situation how it's supposed to be in a proper manner.
Okay.
One of the things we doing this month, in Domestic Violence Month, we're supposed to do a presentation to the police officers that didn't have as yet known much about domestic violence. We're going to structure them, show them what are the signs to look for. This is domestic violence. In which sense we need, which direction we're supposed to go right away, what is more alarming, what we have to like, hey, this is a situation, we got to get this one done right away.
You're talking about all police officers
all police
across
officers,
the board?
Yes.
Good.
I had a colleague here, she went back to Holland Leone, and one of the things that she brought forward is that to start from the police academy in Holland, seeing that they're studying there, we had classes coming in new, to make it as a subject.
Yes.
But that has to be done via the corps chef and the necessary persons that has to put on place. That's one of my wish also. So they come prepared already. And like I said, we are working towards progress, which there's a lot of progress going on. And from there, we're going to see where it's going to go. The Minister of Justice, she's also on board. That sounds good also to us. So there's more alarming for me.
Yes.
And I'm excited to see. I know this one is going to be a good outcome, and I'm excited.
And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, Minister of VSR, the Honorable Richard Panafleck, gave an update on the COVID-19 cases on the island at the Council of Ministers' weekly press briefing on Wednesday. The Honorable Minister also says that as we are currently in the flu season, he would like to remind everyone of the necessary precautions to take to safeguard everyone's health.
As of November 3rd, 2020, 859 persons had a laboratory-confirmed COVID-19 infection. To date, there has been 768 persons that have recovered from COVID-19 and 22 persons have passed away. There are currently 69 cases that are actively being monitored by CPS. Over the past few days, there has been an increase in reported cases, which have been in double digits. While CPS is closely monitoring this trend, it is important that the public is reminded of the health measures of proper hygiene, social distancing, and wearing a mask in public places. At HER, it is crucial as businesses are continuing to reopen, and in the coming weeks, students will be returning to in the classroom instruction. As we currently in the flu season, I would like to take this time to remind everyone of the necessary precautions of safeguard their health and that of their families and community. If you have flu-like symptoms, stay home and call your family doctor. For additional questions or concerns, call CPS at 914. Also, in reference to the testing capacity, the Ministry of VSR is in the process of adapting its protocol, whereas the rapid antigen test of Becton Dickinson, BD Veritor plus COVID-19 antigen test, which was also validated in Europe, will be added as approved method of testing. This will enable persons to be tested much faster than the method of the PCR. Further details will be communicated in the following days. PCR testing will remain as a secondary test where and when needed, but as I just said, the details will be made known soon. Just to make it also clear, synchronization is also being in process and being discussed with the French side so that we have to synchronize our protocol as much as possible.
And with that, viewers, it brings us to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening. I am Valerie Van Putten, and I thank you so much for joining me this evening. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you so much for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.